If it happens, Star Trek IV can finally introduce the original series character teased 15 years ago. After more than a decade of delays, rewrites, director changes, and uncertainty, Star Trek IV remains in limbo, but if the long-promised sequel ever happens, it has a rare opportunity to pay off a character tease made 15 years ago in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009. The Kelvin timeline, a parallel universe created after the time-traveling incursion of Nero, has often remixed Star Trek canon in clever and dramatic ways. From new versions of Captain Kirk and Spock to a reimagined Enterprise crew, the franchise has successfully walked the line between homage and innovation. Yet despite the success of the reboot trilogy Star Trek Into Darkness, and Star Trek Beyond, one lingering mystery remains: the quiet, blink, and you'll miss it hint at a character who never fully materialized in any of the three films. It's a reference that hardcore Trekkies caught instantly, but casual audiences may have overlooked. Now, with a possible Star Trek IV looming on the edge of probability, there's a perfect chance to fulfill that promise and bring a beloved original series character into the Kelvin fold at last. That character? Robert April, the first captain of the USS Enterprise. The forgotten Easter egg from 2009 Star Trek. In J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, during the early scenes at Starfleet Academy, Kirk faces disciplinary proceedings for cheating on the Kobayashi Maru test. On the monitor listing Starfleet officers and command protocols, a sharp-eyed viewer can spot the name Robert T. April among the data. It was a subtle nod to longtime Star Trek lore. In both behind-the-scenes history and in canon, Robert April is recognized as the original commanding officer of the USS Enterprise before Christopher Pike. Although this brief appearance didn't result in any further development throughout the trilogy, the tease was deliberate. Writer Roberto Orci even confirmed at the time that the reference to April was intentional, meant as a world-building breadcrumb. But with the trilogy shifting focus to Kirk's rise, Spock's emotional arc, and big-budget spectacle, April never reappeared. Now, more than 15 years later, the opportunity to revisit that seed has arrived. Why Robert April matters to Star Trek history. Robert April's legacy in Star Trek goes back further than most realize. Though he was never seen in the live-action original series, he was first mentioned in the animated series episode, The Counterclock Incident, where he appeared as a retired admiral and former Enterprise captain. Voiced by James Doohan Scotty, April was portrayed as a wise, dignified officer who laid the foundation for what Starfleet would come to represent. In the decades since, Robert April has become part of canonical lore. He appeared in tie-in novels and was officially recanonized in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds in 2022, where actor Adrian Holmes portrayed a reimagined April, this time as a seasoned Black Admiral overseeing Captain Pike. His inclusion finally gave April a face and presence in modern live-action Trek. Bringing Robert April into Star Trek IV would not only fulfill the long-standing tease, it would enrich the Kelvin timeline with deeper ties to Starfleet's foundational legacy. He is, after all, the man who commanded the Enterprise before Pike, before Kirk. He's the Enterprise's original trailblazer. A logical fit for the Kelvin timeline. If Star Trek IV is intended to be a finale for the Kelvin crew as rumored, or at least a swan song before handing the baton to a new generation, then the timing is ideal for Robert April to make his debut. His presence could serve multiple purposes. Mentorship. April could serve as a mentor figure to Kirk, helping guide him during a period of self-doubt or moral crisis. Much like Pike was a mentor to Spock in Strange New Worlds, April could become a spiritual anchor for the more impulsive, swaggering Kirk of the Kelvin universe. Conflict catalyst. Alternatively, April could represent an older, more rigid Starfleet perspective, clashing with Kirk's bold, unconventional methods. This would create a compelling intergenerational tension and reflect the broader philosophical theme Star Trek is known for. Bridge to legacy. April's presence would also reinforce the continuity between past and present, linking the early Starfleet era with the modern-day adventures of the Enterprise crew. In a way, April would function like Star Trek VI, the undiscovered country's Sarek and elder statesman whose gravitas anchors the story emotionally and historically. In essence, April's inclusion would not feel forced or fan service-wide. It would be a natural and poignant way to connect the dots across Trek eras and deepen the mythos of the Kelvin timeline. How Star Trek IV could use Robert April. There are multiple directions Star Trek IV could go with April's role, depending on the story it chooses to tell. Here are a few plausible scenarios. 1. A crisis from the past. The plot could revolve around a Starfleet mission gone wrong, one that April once commanded during his tenure. Perhaps a planet or civilization the early Enterprise encountered under his command now faces catastrophic consequences from a decision April made decades ago. This brings April out of retirement and forces him to confront his legacy, with Kirk and the current Enterprise crew caught in the crossfire. 2. Starfleet's founding ideals under threat. A recurring theme in modern Trek has been the erosion of Starfleet's ideals. April, representing Starfleet's early days, could become a key figure in helping Kirk defend those principles when they're challenged by external threats or corrupt leadership within the Federation. 3. A parallel timeline meeting. Given the Kelvin timeline's very foundation in temporal mechanics, perhaps the story features a meeting between April from the Prime Universe and his Kelvin counterpart. This would allow two iterations of Trek canon to interact directly and give April a weightier presence as a character who exists outside time itself. Such a move would open doors for crossover cameos from Strange New Worlds, potentially involving Anson Mounts Pike or Ethan Peck Spock, bridging the Kelvin and Prime timelines for the first time on screen. Casting Robert April for the Kelvin universe. While Adrian Holmes has done an admirable job portraying April in Strange New Worlds, the Kelvin universe has traditionally cast new actors for legacy roles. Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, and others gave fresh takes on classic characters. Following that pattern, a new actor could be chosen to embody April's Kelvin counterpart. Ideal casting might include Giancarlo Esposito, a powerhouse of gravitas and intensity. Esposito could bring both authority and introspection to the role. Lance Reddick in memoriam. Before his passing, he would have been a phenomenal April, offering stoic strength and presence. Jeffrey Wright. Wright's nuanced performances could give April a philosophical depth befitting an elder Starfleet legend. Dennis Haysbert. With a commanding voice and stature, Haysbert could embody the commanding and noble qualities that April deserves. Whoever takes on the role, the goal should be to elevate April to the status of a foundational Trek icon, equal parts myth and man. A long-awaited payoff for hardcore fans. Part of the magic of Star Trek is how it rewards longtime viewers. While casual fans enjoy the action and spectacle, dedicated Trekkies appreciate the long arcs, the subtle continuity threads, and the deep respect for lore. Including Robert,